Welcome to episode 111 of Instant Expertise Marketing, the podcast where we show you how to save time and actually get things done with AI without sounding like a cyborg. I'm Yvette Brown, co-founder of X Promos. I became an entrepreneur at 23 with my then 29-year-old business partner, Sherry Nomadi. 35 years later, we are still at it, helping marketers figure out what actually works.
And I'm Sherry Nomadi. We've been through every marketing trend imaginable out there, from fax blast to AI. However, our core mission has not changed, and that is we help clients get real results with smart strategy and zero fluff. And now more than ever, the pressure is mounting to do more with less, especially when it comes to content.
Absolutely. And that brings us to today's topic. The rise of the one-trick AI tools that promise to do work for you, like turning podcasts into blog posts, say, for example, with just the click of a button. I tried one, and yeah, spoiler alert, it didn't go great.
So let's back up. These tools are what you may have heard called wrappers. They're built on top of large language models like ChatGPT or Claude. But instead of giving you full control, they give you a structured experience, usually based on basic templates.
Yeah, and the idea is to make it easier. You just paste in your transcript, pick a tone, and boom, instant SEO optimized blog. It sounds really great in theory.
And to be fair, some of the wrapper tools actually offer some really decent outputs. And some even allow a bit of customization.
But in most cases, what you gain in speed, you lose in depth. The results might be technically accurate, like they are using like best practices in keywords, they have the right H231 sizes, etc. But they don't have everything else you need to get what you need done right, and they often lack the nuance that comes with your tone, your voice, and kind of keeping it as yours.
Yeah, it's like ordering takeout when what you really need is a custom meal plan.
Okay, Jerry, that's a really solid metaphor right there, and I got to give you that. And to be fair, sometimes takeout is okay, right? But if you're leaning into AI to level up your game and to get more productive, then that generic drive-through is not the answer, especially when getting the meal plan done is not that hard.
So let me.
Yeah, and nevertheless, even though I know better, right, and you do know I occasionally go do the drive-through, I thought I would try, right? So I used a podcast to blog wrapper tool to speed things up. I was hopeful, like I always am. I dropped in the episode, I clicked generate, and guess what came back?
I don't know. Maybe some perfect grammar, a nice outline, and zero personality?
Bingo. It was structurally fine, but it didn't sound like us. And more than that, it sounded like generic AI content. Like, it got cringy right out of the gate with the first line in it. And, it kind of skipped over some of the big ideas that we were trying to share in our podcast. It didn't land our tone. And really, it just sort of skimmed the surface.
Because templates can't always capture your voice. And that's what the trade-off is. It is speed versus the specificity.
Yeah, and let's be honest, that one was on me, right? I should have known better. And really, for the first, I don't know, probably 70 or so episodes of the show, I actually started these episodes by writing the content. Writing the blog always came first. And then at some point, as the blog got more popular, we decided, you know what, I'm just going to skip the blog and write the podcast script from there, right? And that was kind of a shift that we made.
Which meant that the message was tight, the voice was clear, and you got two pieces of content from one effort.
Yeah, and I thought I could be, the reason I did that, I'm kind of like a writer at heart, is I thought I could be more clear and precise in what we were trying to communicate in the blog, and then the script would be easier to do. But like I said, as the podcast took off, I got busy, and like every other marketer, I focused on client work, and I sort of let our own repurposing slide.
Yeah, that's the classic cobbler, kids have no shoes,
Yep,
right?
pretty much that's it. So I did what I do regularly now is I talked to my good friend ChatGPT about it, and I learned how I could still repost those episodes as blogs and how to do that properly and not have, Google get mad at me about it. But since I do love trying new tools, I did try the shortcut and it just didn't work out for me. Like it really didn't. So now we're circling back and I'm doing it in the way that actually works. I'm using my own LLM, not that tool that I bought. I'm using chat that I've had these like cajillion conversations with. My chat is a personalized assistant that I've trained over the last, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years to understand me, to understand our tone, our brand, and our expectations.
And really, how's that different from the wrapper?
Well, what makes it different with talking to your LLM is it's a conversation. I have a conversation with my chat. I prompt it directly. I guide it. I refine it. It doesn't just spit out a result. I shape it with my input, and God knows I am big on the iterations.
That is so true. And how about you give sort of a specific example so our listeners understand that?
Okay, so what I often do is when talking to chat, is I want to make sure that first it's like got that context of grounded, like what I'm talking about, right? Because as you can imagine, we talk about a lot of things all the time. So I start out by saying something like, hey, our podcast? And I kind of give it an opportunity to say yes. And usually it responds and says yes, and it gives this little summary of like, it's instant expertise marketing, da 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 da. It's you and Sherry, da 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 da. So at that point, I'm like, okay, cool. Then I would sort of explain my problem, right? And that's always the way we do it is like, here's what I'm trying to achieve, and here's the obstacle I'm facing. In this case, I would say something like, I have some old episodes of podcasts that don't have their blog counterparts, and I feel like we have lost the value of repurposing those by not having them on the blog, right? And so I want to convert these, but I want to use the tone that we already have. And then I would sort of, again, give it more context to say, I don't want a transcript. I don't want it like an interview, but I want it like a real blog. I want to make sure that AI understands what I'm asking for it. And at that point, oftentimes, I'll go ahead and upload a sample. I'll say, remember, this is an example of a script we did, and this is the blog that went with it. So it actually has some context on that. I might even say, if it's not super familiar, I'll say, go check out our blog right here and give it the web address. So it's really like, okay, yeah, we're in the moment. We're having this conversation. I know what you're talking about. And then at that point, when I'm like, cool, we're set, I might say something like, you're my content strategist. Turn this podcast into a blog post that matches our brand voice. Make it clear and sharp and helpful. Use a bold hook and add one takeaway and keep the whole thing under 800 words or 1,200 words or like whatever you want it. And then make sure it sounds like X promos. So that's kind of how I would approach it.
Well, that's not a template. I mean, that's more like a creative partner. And that is really, guys, the value of working directly with an LLM over time. You get to personalize it and guide the tone and shape your message. And this is the value in working consistently with your choice of LLM.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, Sherry. AI is most powerful and effective when it's yours. When it understands your preferences based on your expertise, your audience, and your expectations.
We've said it before, and it's so true that a lot of that power gets lost when you rely too heavily on these pre-built tools. Just learn how to use one of the LLMs really well, and that's pretty much all you're going to need.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that they're all bad, and I'm sure over time they're going to get better, but understand a lot of them really are single use solutions, and while they may be optimized for that one thing, you're losing all that other stuff. And that's the part that we want everybody to understand is if you care about your brand voice or your tone, it may not get you there. And, as a reminder, if you're selling something or marketing something, you should care about those things because that's what's going to separate you in the marketplace. And, if you're already good at thinking strategically, you're going to get like super better results by working with the model, not through a filter.
So, guys, if you've been thinking about buying that shiny new AI tool, put it on pause.
Yeah, you may already have the right tool. It's an LLM. You just need to learn how to talk to it better and get out the results that you're looking for.
So, I think what we're saying is that you should really start treating AI like a collaborative team member and not a vending machine.
Yeah, and you really do need to invest in your own AI fluency because that's where the real time savings and brand consistently happens. Like both those things can happen magically when you're skilled up and talking to your AI in the way that optimizes based on your own expertise.
So for us, we are finally turning all those past episodes into blogs without losing our personal voice.
Yeah, and they'll sound like us again. And we're getting it done faster because we know how to collaborate with our own AI, but of course not after we tried the crappy tool that failed.
Yeah. And so if it sounds like something you want some help with, check out our AI foundational training at xpromos.com/AI. We teach teams how to do it right without the hype.
And once again, thank you for listening. Make sure you like, follow, or forward this to a friend who just got sucked into one of those magic AI content tool ads.
That's right. We've all been there, let's face it, but let's just get smarter about it now.
And we will see you next time.